So if you're new to management consulting, how do you think your clients are going to evaluate you and pick you for their assignment? I'll explain, coming right up. Okay, so if you're fairly new to management consulting, maybe you're thinking about getting into management consulting, maybe you've just started your own management consulting business, one of the things that you might be thinking about is, how do my potential clients evaluate my services against my competitors? And how will I get picked? So let me share 5 things which I think your clients are probably going to think about in their evaluation of your services and whether they're going to work with you or not. Now, let me just preface this by saying that if you are very lucky, and I've been doing this for over 25 years and been running my own management consulting business for 24 years. In fact, I run 3. When you've been doing it for a while, you have very well established long-term client relationships, and I was going to say not often, but you're not in a competitive situation all the time for work. Let me just put it that way. So when you're starting out, it's very much going to be a case of, I want you to help me do something in my business. I want to hire, your consulting business, whatever services you provide. I'm not just going to talk to you. I'm probably going to talk to 2 or 3 and to trying to get a flavour of how this problem might get fixed, what it's going to cost me, and that kind of thing. So I'm not just going to come to you until I have a well-established relationship with you. And that only comes after you've delivered me a couple of projects, a couple of services. So when you're starting out particularly, you're normally going to be in a competitive situation. I still am in my business. I mean, if it's a big project, even clients that I've had for 10 years or more, they're going to get a few different quotes, to make sure that the investment is going to be right. If we're working with government clients, they always have to get multiple quotes. So you're never just going to be what we say in Australia, a shoe-in. It's never kind of yours for the taking. So quite often, even if you've been at this for decades, you're going to be in a tendering competitive situation. But when you're starting out, assume that it's always going to be like that. So what are some of the things that your potential clients are going to consider when they're looking at your services? One, probably above all else, is experience. And this is hard when you've just started out because you don't necessarily have the experience. But they're going to be looking for, what experience have you got in my industry? So, if you're pitching to a steel company, whatever it is that you do, IT, marketing, whatever, what other steel companies have you worked with? It's natural. You might be saying, oh yeah, but I provide marketing advice. It doesn't really matter what industry you're in. Yeah, but it does to the client. You and I know that. I provide supply chain and logistics consulting in my main consulting business, and there are some industries that I've worked with over the years that they were the first client in that industry, and we did a great job for them. But every client thinks their industry is fairly unique. And so they will want to see evidence that you have helped other companies in their industry, that you understand their industry. So if you can do that, that's a big plus. Probably more importantly, though, they want to see that you've had experience in helping other companies with the same issue that they've got. So in my example with supply chain and logistics, we might be being asked to, let's pick something simple, design a warehouse. So have you designed warehouses in our industry? Well, we've done hundreds of them. So it's easy when you've been around for a while. Yes, we've designed warehouses in your industry for, this particular type of warehouse. They might say, have you negotiated freight contracts in our industry? Yeah, we've done it 200 times and we've done it, 58 times in your industry. Until you get to the level where you've got lots and lots of, case studies and testimonials and previous client work to draw on, that can be a little bit of a challenge. So when you're starting out, don't be afraid to draw on your own personal experience. So you're not lying to the client, but they might be saying, have you had experience of implementing this IT system before? And you can say, yeah, I've done it 3 times. Maybe you did it as an employee with a large multinational company or something, but legitimately you have the experience of doing that work. So, when you've been a consultant for a while, when your company's got, a good reputation and a good track record, then you can say, yes, as Rob's consulting business, we've done all of these things. But it can be a little bit of a challenge to begin with. So, absolutely, your potential client wants to know that you have experience in their industry and fixing that particular problem. Number two, and this can be a little bit contentious, but I think you really do need to have good qualifications in your particular field. So, if you're a marketing consultant, I'd expect that you've probably got a degree in it. If you're a finance consultant, I definitely expect you to have a degree in it. So whatever area that you're consulting in, I would expect to see some fairly substantial qualification, and your clients would expect it too. Probably an area where it's less important might be in marketing, particularly digital marketing, that type of thing, because it's very hard in those fields for formal education to actually keep up with what's happening in the marketplace. Digital marketing happens to be a bit of a hobby of mine. Probably any formal education process, a program that you could attend is probably out of date already. So there's a few fields where, self-learning and things like that are quite appropriate. But any of the sort of traditional professions, if you like, your client's going to expect to see some sort of tertiary qualification in what it is that you're consulting in. Number three, references. As you progress with your management consulting business and as you start to build a reputation in your industry and become better known, it's going to be less of an issue. But in the early days, particularly, clients are going to ask for references. So, yes, we've helped this company do the same thing. Here's the details of the general manager. Go and talk to them. Because they don't want the risk of hiring an unknown consultant. So they're going to check you out and they're going to want to have references. So what does that mean? Well, your first few consulting assignments, you better make sure they're good ones. You should always make sure they're good ones. But maybe on those first few, you need to actually over-deliver a little bit and make sure those clients are absolutely delighted so that you can use them as referees for future clients. Number four, depending on the sort of management consulting that you're doing, your client may well expect that you have specific tools and approaches and methodologies to do what it is that you do. So again, I don't know what you do, but in my own management consulting business, one of the things that we do is we design distribution networks, where all the warehouses are going to go and how the transport's going to operate. And we use some very expensive software tools. We haven't built those. They're available in the market. But, these are like $100,000 software tools to help us model different supply chains and things like that. We have them for modeling inventory. We have them for modeling transport operations. You may have in-house tools. You may have sort of readily available tools from the marketplace that you use. You may have developed approaches or methodologies, but you need to be able to demonstrate that you're not kind of making this up as you go along. And so, look, it could be as simple as, here's our 7-step methodology to take you from there to there, that we've designed. Could be some PowerPoint slides or something like that. But they're going to want to see some sort of method to what you're doing, some sort of process that you follow. It just looks more professional and so that you know what you're doing. Number 5, and I've kept this till the end, they're going to evaluate you on price. Now, price is always a tricky one, particularly when you're starting out, because you'll have a great tendency to underprice your services because you want to win business. And in the back of your mind, you'll be thinking, if I'm cheaper than everyone else, I'll win the business. To a degree, that might be true. But do you really want clients who are just picking the cheapest option? So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Certainly in the early stages, when you're just starting out as a consultant with your own business, you're going to feel that urge to maybe keep the prices down a little bit so that you can at least win some business to kick off. But please don't sort of maintain that for too long. And you need to be charging what you're worth. and not undercutting yourself. And the danger is that you may get into projects which overrun a little bit. Maybe you're going to have sort of difficult clients, and if you've really cut your pricing to the bone, it makes it very, very hard for you to deliver services to those clients. So really think carefully about your pricing model and where you sit in the marketplace. So, for example, in my marketplace, there are some very large international consulting firms. You kind of get to know what everybody charges. They might be charging here. There are some sort of, we call them one-man band independent firms, and they're charging down here. We're probably somewhere in the middle. But I'm very aware and very sensitive of the fact of, what the sort of market pricing is for our services. And I have to say, once I was through that startup phase, I had no qualms whatsoever in saying, well, look, these are our prices, that's it. One of the things that's really interesting on pricing, and I'd love to know down below if you've ever had this happen to you, but occasionally you'll get people asking for discounts. It hasn't happened to me a lot. Sometimes, and it's generally the smaller clients, they'll sort of say, oh, is there anything we can do on the price? And I generally say no, because I price our work very fairly, and most of our work is priced on a fixed fee basis. So we go through a very careful process of understanding what the client needs and going through the resourcing and planning and all the rest of it, and we come up with a fixed price. Clients like that. So we'll deliver this for this price. There's no surprises. And when people sort of come along and say, oh, is there anything we can do on the price? So, well, not really, because that's what you wanted and that's what it's going to cost us to deliver. And so what I generally say is, well, in the scope of work, is there something that you don't feel is necessary? And we can take that out and we can drop the price. But the main point I'm making here is that be very careful when people ask you for discounts, because if you have put together, fair pricing, stick with it, because if they ask for discounts once, they're going to keep asking. Culturally, in some countries, it's kind of part of the whole process. I can remember, I won't say which country it was in, but we do a lot of work in Southeast Asia, and this was a few years ago, and it was a lovely client. We were bidding for quite a large piece of work, and I shall do a hopeless French, or I think he was Swiss accent. But it's, he says, well, this project, it's exactly what we want, but the price, can you do something for me on the price? And I knew where he was coming from. He had to be seen to be able to negotiate with the suppliers, and I said, I better not say his real name. I said, Laurent, for you, I'll take off 2%. And he went, super, no problem, we start Monday. So sometimes, I'll say, I've said, never discount, but occasionally you have to be aware of the sort of cultural norms, and in some countries and cultures, they kind of expect to be able to haggle a bit. And he just needed to be able to show to his board that, he'd negotiated a bit of a discount. So, but as a general rule, I say, look, there's the price, no discounts. If you don't want to pay that much, we've got to take something out of the scope of work. So anyway, I digress slightly. Price will be one of the things that you're evaluated on by your potential clients. So be very careful, make sure your pricing is fair and reasonable, but don't be pushed into much lower prices. On the other hand, don't have an overly inflated idea of your value and put in ridiculous prices. You can always creep up those prices a little bit later when you have more experience. So there we go. I just thought I would share that, particularly if you're starting out in management consulting. You've just started your management consulting business. What do people evaluate you on before they give you the work? So it's your experience, both in their industry and their particular issue. Qualifications less so, but you are kind of expected to have some. They might wonder why you haven't. They may be asking for references for similar work. They might want to be seeing some evidence of particular tools and methodologies and approaches, and of course they're going to evaluate you on price. Okay, so there we go. If you are starting out, some things to think about on evaluation by your clients. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions on that, do comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer those as quickly as I can. But thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye for now.